Through the infrastructure law, we're going to invest over $4 billion to replace the existing Baltimore and Potomac tunnel. And that's why it's so important. Over 2,200 trains run on this corridor every single day, and it's the busiest.
So folks, they're taking action right now. They're taking action for a stimulus check. And there's a new piece of bills that are being passed up to people that are experiencing these financial difficulties. The lawmakers are considering relief checks that will help Americans pay their bills. Plus, folks, you may qualify for one of these stimulus checks. And in order to be sure to qualify, be sure to continue watching this video because I got a ton of information about this stimulus news. First of all, New York utility regulators are considering a bailout for hundreds of thousands of households and many small businesses that are threatened with losing electric and gas service if they don't even pay their bills. We all know things are going like high, so the plan would actually be off of $700 million in debt that residents and small businesses accumulated through the crisis, and now most of that would be shifted to all ratepayers in the form of a slightly higher bill. In other words, among customers of National Grid, some 70,000 households owe an average of $2,400, and that's going to be a lot of money they have to pay. The new proposal would help customers regardless of income with no means test or application process. It comes on the heels of a similar program last year that paid off about $500 million owed by customers who enrolled in these programs. The proposed debt relief is unprecedented, state officials said. It's designed to prevent a tsunami of utility shutoffs that could threaten the health and safety of people. The consumer groups and even the Land Initiative said that utility shareholders should pick up the cost. The 7-member commission will rule on the proposal, which was drawn up by the commission staff. And consumer advocates and other state agencies said this is a big chance of happening. It's a big chance it could happen this year. It's a big chance people could get the help they need. As of September, though, 1 million residents and 128,000 small businesses were more than 60 days overdue on their bills. They owe $2 billion. That's more than a double amount of unpaid debt. And of that amount, more than $1 billion in unpaid bills are dating back to May 2022. State advisors wrote that the plan would greatly help so many people. With heating costs rising as much as 40% this winter, the financial burden for utility customers is mounting. The program will provide crucial relief to the struggling customers, and if approved by the Commission, it could be implemented during the peak of the heating season. In ratcheting up criticism, Joe Manchin moved to delay the new tax credits for electric vehicles. In other words, folks, Joe Manchin is waiting for stimulus. He's not trying to make it happen, like he should be. Manchin said the guidelines by the Treasury Department allow manufacturers in Europe and other countries to bypass requirements that significant portions of EV vehicles are based in America. Electric vehicle tax credits were supposed to be domestic manufacturing and reliant on the foreign supply chain. That's what Joe Manchin said. Electric vehicle sales have tripled since Biden took office. Even the secretary said that there are more than 2 million EV vehicles and 100,000 chargers on roadways. So when more than $100 billion invested and pledged to America, I wouldn't be surprised if people start getting like electric vehicle stimulus checks, because according to the White House, the demand is going very high, and they expect that by 2030, half of all vehicles sold in the United States will be electric. Ultimately, the measure by the West Virginia lawmaker is unlikely to gain traction in the Senate, where Democrats hold a slim majority and have no inclination to reopen a bill that passed on a party line vote. If it doesn't pass, it will pass. We have a ton of news about the fourth stimulus check, Social Security benefits, SSI, SSDI, and things like that. Now, I want you guys to stay up to date on the most important news, so don't forget to continue watching this video. I have a lot of news to say. There's a lot of
uncertainty. The legal aid managing attorney says the economic impact payment system wasn't set up with low-income earners in mind.
It's almost as if it's just occurring to the Treasury and IRS as they go along, that not everybody fits the kind of cookie cutter tax filer with a bank account that they were thinking when they created this.
Local 12 spoke to more than a dozen low-income earners to see whether they have received their stimulus check and a bank account.
So here's the news. The lawmakers are taking huge action this week. Democrats and Republicans are discussing plans that would help cut poverty in half, and states have established new crisis relief programs aiming to provide relief to low income. This comes with extra stimulus cash and extra money in your bank. But now many of the crisis tax benefits from the past 2 years, like the expanded tax credit and temporary expansions to the child and dependent care credit and federal stimulus payments, all ended in 2021. It can mean your refund will be a little bit smaller this year. And some Americans may find themselves owing taxes again. And according to Mark Stebner, a tax expert for Jackson Hewitt, next year a lot of things are put into place for 2021. In some part of 2020 will revert back to its pre-crisis years. It can lead to a refund shock or even more importantly, balance due shock. In addition, some new regulations were put into place. Student loan forgiveness, for example, is exempt from federal taxation, and borrowers in some states owe taxes. One of the changes is that the standard deduction for 2022 is higher. It's typical for the standard deduction to increase a little each year, along with the rate of inflation, for your 2022 tax return. The standard deduction for single filers has been increased from $12,000 to just $12,950. That's up by $400, and it has bumped by $800 if you're filing married jointly. The standard deduction is what most taxpayers will simply have with a simple tax return in order to claim and reduce their taxable income. Income tax brackets are also higher in 2022. For 2022, income tax brackets were also raised to account for inflation. Your income bracket to how much tax you owe, based on your just gross income, is the money you owe before taxes are taken out. And while the changes were slight, if you're at the bottom of a tax bracket, you may have bumped down to a lower rate for your returns. And while 2021 had a temporary expansion of the tax credit, including eligibility for more dependent credits and offering advance payments, it isn't the case for your 2022 taxes. The child tax credit has already dropped back to its pre-crisis amount, which is $2,000 per child, and now available to people 17 and under. The credit, which was fully refundable last year, is only refundable for a certain amount of people, meaning not everyone gets a stimulus payment this time around. Offering an important note that you can still claim the tax credit in 2022. It may help boost your refund and offset a tax bill. And while federal benefits have decreased, the states are offering child tax credit benefits this year and next. The governor of Vermont has signed a tax cut package, and it will send $1,000 to every child 5 and under to Vermont households making $125,000 or less. And with federal stimulus money spending flooding into the states and boosting tax recipients, the Democrat-controlled legislature and Republican governor agreed on something that they're usually at odds over. It's cutting taxes. The House initially sought to spend nearly $50 million, almost entirely dedicated to the tax credit alone. The Senate responded with a $36 million package, only $22.5 million of which would have gone to the credit. In 2022, lawmakers in New Mexico and New Jersey even created the new child tax credits. And now, like California, Jersey, and Vermont, credits are permanent, and with New Mexico scheduled to expire in 2027, people will be receiving stimulus money for a long, long time. And despite variation, these state credits represent a meaningful first step in enhancing economic security and general well-being of children across the country. The lawmakers can reduce child poverty in their states by enacting and enhancing state credits. And this is the end, everybody, for stimulus payments, or will it be more stimulus payments in 2022? I'm not sure, folks, information, and I'm pretty sure everyone's going to find this video